Yeah, this is gonna be a pretty interesting video.
Yeah, so last week I went down an internet rabbit hole where I found a photo claiming to show a tiger in Alaska. This raised a lot of questions. One, is this photo real? Two, are there more of them out there? And a bunch of other questions such as, could a tiger even survive in Alaska? And is this the only one? And I figured I'd make a video about it. And as a little disclaimer, even though I've been to Alaska before, despite all my animal knowledge, I am not an expert on this topic, and most of this video is going to be speculative and figuring out if there are and what the possibility and likelihood is of tigers being in Alaska. Starting off with the question that you're probably all wondering, is this photo real? The first thing I did to figure this out was go on the Togak National Wildlife Refuge's website and see if I could find the photo. But I had no luck. In spite of that, I was able to find the original screenshot of where this photo came from. Apparently, the refuge claims that this photo was taken on site at the refuge while filming a hunting documentary, and this was caught on a trail camera. While I've never been to Togak, the photos do match with the surrounding area that you'd expect from the refuge. Man, Alaska's so beautiful, I can't wait to go back. So the next thing I noticed was that this tiger appeared to be eating an elk. Elk do live in the native range of the tiger, but only in a very small area, assuming that this is a Siberian tiger at least. Siberian tigers are the only known tiger species to actually be cold tolerant. As their name suggests, they do live in Siberia, though now people mostly call them Amur tigers as the range in Siberia is pretty limited. But can they take the Alaskan cold? Probably. This actually surprised me, as tigers can be found far enough north to where they'd regularly experience temperatures up to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which is definitely cold enough for them to survive in Alaska. It's actually believed that at one point the Amur tiger even lived in the Arctic Circle, though this belief is questionable to say the least. So is this photo right here even depicting an Amur tiger? To be honest, I don't know. The color doesn't really add up, though that could also be contributed to the lighting or simply just a certain morphological type. But then we get into the next question, which everybody is wondering. How the hell does a tiger get to Alaska? The original post claims that the tiger most likely came across the Bering Strait while it was frozen over, but that raises a bunch of more questions. Mainly that tigers don't actually stretch that far north. While it is very possible that a transient tiger could have went that far, it is highly unlikely, especially because tigers are not known to live on sea ice. But it's not impossible, as other species of big cat, such as the panther, have been recorded literally traveling halfway across the United States. So is it possible for a tiger to travel from Russia to Alaska? Yes, but it's probably less than 1%. Mainly due to the fact that tigers simply don't live on sea ice. They're not adapted to it, and as cool as it would be, what would they even eat out there? It's not like they're gonna magically compete with polar bears or something. Speaking of which, if you would ever love to see who would win a fight, a polar bear or a tiger, then please like and subscribe to help my insecure ego. And while tigers and jaguars are the most water-loving of the big cats, it's simply just impossible for them to swim that far. But another explanation that has been proposed for how a tiger would get to Alaska is actually the fact that they've been there for thousands of years and people simply haven't known about it. If you didn't know, during the last ice age, Russia and Alaska were actually connected by a land bridge, which allowed for a variety of different Asian and North American animals to intermix, including humans, which is how we got here to the Americas, or at least that applies when it comes to Native Americans. But a lot of animals did cross over, and one of them which actually has been theorized is of course the tiger. There has been some fossil evidence supporting the fact that tigers did live in Alaska at one point, but this is highly debated as their skulls are very similar to the American lion, which also once roamed the Americas. But considering how long the land bridge was there, it's almost certain that at some point at least one tiger crossed over. So the possibility of a population of tigers being able to cross over, stay in Alaska, and remain hidden is definitely a possibility. In my opinion, it's probably more likely than one actually crossing the Bering Strait. So if this is the case, then why haven't they been found before? I don't know, maybe it's because Alaska's 600,000 square miles in size and only holds about 0.2% of the US population, while also making up for 18% of the US's land area. And with so many parks up there remaining unexplored, it's definitely possible to have a variety of different wildlife there's remaining to be discovered, including possibly American tigers. When you remember just how remote Alaska truly is, the idea of tigers being able to live there becomes increasingly likely, especially with all the food available. As stated before, moose and caribou are actually relatively common in Togak alone, but there's also bison and muskox that could be found in the surrounding areas, which could make some pretty decent food for the tiger. But in turn, these tigers would also have to compete with the native brown and black bears, in addition to wolves that live in the area. While these animals could be found in the tiger's native range, they are way more abundant in Alaska. Tigers also tend to prefer more wooded areas, and while Alaska does have plenty of forest, Togak tends to be a bit more of a, I guess you could say, spacious area, though it is very possible that these big cats could adapt. And while southeastern Siberia isn't nearly as mountainous as Alaska, I'm pretty sure these tigers could adapt, seeing that they've been able to spread all across pretty much all of Asia at some point or another. It is also pretty interesting to note that there have been tiger sightings outside of Togak, Alaska, two of which actually being in the Brooks Ranger mountain range, which is located very far away in the center of Alaska, though these sightings I have been able to find very little information on, and could very possibly be a case of mistaken identity or just straight up fabrication. And there's also been a lot of reports of quote-unquote saber-toothed tigers in Alaska. If there are true tigers in Alaska, it could explain the whole mistaken case, but that's a whole nother subject, which I really don't know much of anything on. I mean, I'll let you decide what's more likely, living saber-toothed tigers or just simply a couple random tigers that's simply been chilling in Alaska unseen. Mainly due to the fact that Alaska's wilderness is just so vast. It really makes you wonder, even if there aren't tigers out there, what other crazy large megafauna could be found, waiting to be discovered, in the depths of Alaska. So now that we know that it is plausible for a tiger to get to Alaska, or already be in Alaska, and now that we know that they could survive there, what's the likelihood of this photo really being real, and not some sort of prank or crazy stunt made by the refuge? Well, there is one thing going against this photo, that being the date that it was published. Even though the photo itself claims to be taken in November of 2016, it wasn't exactly shared till March 31st of 2017. For as much as I'd like to believe without a shadow of a doubt that this photo is real, the major gap in when this photo was taken and when it was published is pretty suspicious, especially when you remember what comes right after March 31st.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yep, April Fool's Day. But before you click off thinking this is just some random bullshit video, you have to keep in mind that the refuge has neither confirmed or denied if this is truly an April Fool's prank, and in spite of that, there is some other evidence supporting the fact that tigers could have at the very least once existed in Alaska. So, is this photo real, and are there actually a wild population of tigers living in Alaska? As of recording this, nobody knows, but it is a very interesting concept to think about. While I wouldn't be worried about fighting off tigers in Alaska anytime soon, after all, you got a bunch of bears to deal with, it still is very interesting to wonder just what other animals are out there. And right now, we simply can't know. But hopefully I'll be able to go back to Alaska again, and who knows, maybe I could go looking for them. Now, if you want more animal adventures and educational animal videos, please like and subscribe. In the meantime, enjoy this hilarious video of a liger mauling somebody.
Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Ben Carson, and the list goes on. Ow, son of a